Survives, yes, family. Vibing out tonight, yes. Rod. Riding out tonight. Vibing out. Vibing out. Late night vibe. Not too late. Shout out to the sisters. Nazarene fake sisters. I mean, watch it on the 1 and 2s. Little vibe. You know how we do. Back at it. For me, this verse from the fucking Fragile Patty, nice looking vibes, you know what I mean? Playing the wisdom of the creator. Shout out to the family, I see you. We just here vibing out. Late night session, evening session. Preach to the righteous God, I see you, my brother. Where's it make my logic yourself? Malachi Mack be in the building. Preach to the righteous God. Global purpose, that do I see Lawrence, I see the fifth chiming in. Doesn't know King. That's right. So this is the book of Fragile Patty, chapter 31. Chapter 31. Let's start with verse 2. You know what I mean? Just the wisdom of the creator. You know how you do. You know how the creator be speaking. The voice of Yahuwah came to Yama, saying, whether spirits or mortals, they seek rather to obey their own self-desires than my commandments. Behold, I sent them Apollo, and he gave them intercourse between the two worlds, angels and mortals. And for a season they held up their heads and remembered me and my kingdom. But presently they turned everything upside down and built on their own account. I had shown them that by industry and perseverance they could attain to knowledge and power. But because mortals discover that prophecy could come from the spirits of the dead, they ceased to perfect themselves and so grew in idleness. See that? So being that you could communicate with the angels to get prophecy, that left them doing no work. They wasn't being industrious. That's why it's interesting when it states here, I had shown them by industry and perseverance they could attain knowledge and power. Now that's basically saying like, yo, you got to endure. You got to be industrious, be creative. If you got to, it's like having your own business. You got to persevere in that business. You know what I mean? You got to manage that business. You can't have a business and conjure up the spirits of the dead and expect the spirits of the dead to run your business. It don't work like that. You got to be industrious, perseverance, and that doing those things is going to attain knowledge and power. But look at this. But look what it states here. This is interesting. It said, but because mortals discover that prophecy could come from the spirits of the dead. Let's highlight that. But because mortals discovered that prophecy could come from the spirits of the dead, they ceased to perfect themselves and so grow in idleness. See that? So that's when they say, like, when man is bereft of spirituality, he advanced in science and invention. Where we're at right now, the Cosmon era, we're advanced in what? Science and invention. We're more dealing with science and invention than in investigating spirituality. Spirituality is coming on the rise again, but the highlight of spirituality was mainly in the what? Mid 1800s. Then it kind of died out. Then invention came and took over. You know, by the time of the late 1800s, the early 1900s, people probably got tired of spirituality. It's time to investigate corporality. And then you start having these great discoveries of invention and technology. Verse 4. The angels love not to labor, love not to achieve my exalted heavens, being content with the lowest. And they likewise fell in darkness, forgetting me in my higher heaven. See that? That's why we can't get comfortable. And this is what happened with those who follow the Bible. They got comfortable. They expect you ain't, oh, you know what I mean, the Most High, his kingdom is the all highest. You're going to be, you know, we're going to be in the kingdom. They're going to be in the kingdom. And the kingdom that they're talking about they're going to be in is over there in Jerusalem. So they have been content to believe that their spiritual ascension is basically in a small corner. You in a small corner in the heavens talking about this is the most high or this is the most exalted. Again, the angels love not to labor, love not to achieve my exalted heavens, being content with the lowest. See that? Yo, we good down here. I'm straight. And they likewise fell in darkness, forgetting me in my higher places above. I called out to my son Osiris, saying, go down to the earth and her heavens, and build them up in my name. Yes, you shall wall them apart, so there shall be no communion between the two worlds, except to my chosen. So the purpose of Osiris is to get mortals to stop dealing with the spirits of the dead. Because by mortals dealing with the spirits of the dead, they was not improving their talents. All they doing is sitting around all day up in the temples, listening to what the angels is telling them, and they're becoming idle, lazy. They're not improving themselves. They're not being industrious. They're not tapping in to the nature and the natural resources and natural philosophy, cosmogony, and things of that nature. They just, whatever the spirits tell them is that what they're going by. So here comes Osiris. And Osiris came and fulfilled my commandments, providing for mortals in such ways that no spirit could come to them. And as for the spirits that infested the earth, he drove them away and colonized them, thus cutting them off from the earth. And for a season, mortals prospered under my judgment, and they sought to improve the talents I created withal. So see that? So for each 3,000 years, the Creator, through the Etherian angels, depending on what man needs to develop his talents in, such is the case. So the time of Osiris, man needed to develop in physical science, and such was the case. He developed in the physical world so good, he studied things to the atomic particle to the point where he didn't believe in spirituality anymore. Man was to be restrained from spirituality, but not to go as far as not to believe in it. But man took it to the extreme and didn't believe in the life after death, the spirits of the dead, during the ending of the cycle of Osiris. But again, they confounded my judgment and perverted my laws. Every man on the earth has a philosophy of his own. Every spirit in these heaven have a philosophy of their own, and there is no uniformity between any of them. Hear me then, my son. Ye shall not teach as Osiris did, nor yet as Apollo, but pursue a means between the two. See that? See that? The days of Apollo, they was dealing with spirit communion. The days of Osiris, they cut the spirit communion so mortals could focus on understanding natural philosophy and science. So Phagapatty is coming like in a cosmos sense. It stated what? What do you say right here? What did I just say? He said, you shall not teach as Osiris did, nor as Apollo, but pursue a means between the two. Is that not Cosmon? Cosmon is a balance between what? The spiritual and the physical. So it's like we're repeating the cycle of Fragapatty now with this concept. Finding a mean between the two of spiritual and physical as far as science. You shall select them, permitting certain spirits to return to mortals, and permitting certain mortals to attain Suas and Sargos. This is the time of Fragapatty. So for mortals not to be too fluttered and carried left or right, he's centralizing it, selecting certain mortals who could attain it, but mortals got to achieve it through industry and perseverance. So what Fragapatty is doing is taking the mistakes of the past cycles of Apollo and Osiris and perfecting the two. So there could be a means so man can understand both. You shall select them, permitting certain spirits to return to mortals, and permitting certain mortals to attain Suas and Sargos, and to see and communicate with spirits. But you shall provide them in judgment, making the process of intercommunion a secret among mortals. See that? For by this you shall shut off the drudges of heaven and the drunks of earth. See that? So sometimes these secret societies, these secret cults, it may not have to do with something that has to do with being evil or anything. It could be with the fact that they're trying to shut off the drudges. Look what it states here. It says what? I don't know where my marker. There you go. Making the process of intercommunion a secret among mortals. See that? The secret societies, the Masons, all these secrets societies is dealing with spirit communion, but the purpose of the secret is for what? For by this you shall cut off the drudges of heaven and the drunks of earth. Behold, my son Samati will come this way, therefore labor with him in Zarathustra. I have given my decree into God Samata's hand. He shall build on the earth, but you shall build in heaven. As he builds for mortals, you shall build for the spirits of the intermediate world. But keep open the doorway to my holy places in the heavens above. It's all about ascension. See that? See that? All about ascension. 32 Fragapatty. Yama inquired of Jehovah as to proceeding, and the voice answered him, saying, the wisdom of Jehovah. Go from place to place in these heavens and provide your power, and prove your power to the ignorant. Power antecedent. In gaining the judgment, after power comes wisdom. The fool says, what can you do that I cannot? But when he sees the power that cometh from my hand, he opens his ears and eyes to teach men and angels to unite. How have they done anything but fail on all hands? Mortals have said, it is good to be good, but it is not practical. They have said, it is wise to be wise, but wisdom runs in 1,000 roadways, every man for himself. See, they can't unify. The angels of these regions have said, it is a good for us to unite into kingdoms to have gods and lords. But who can unite us? Ain't this the problem the Israelites having? All these different sects? Who could unite the Israelites? Huh? Shall we sell our liberty to one person? Don't they feel like Nathaniel ain't about to sell his liberty to one person, being General Yohanan, being that they broke off from the school? They're not doing that. But they will not unite. They dwell in disharmony. Every man takes the earning of another. The profit of one is the injury of others. They are barren of united goods. See that? Jehovah said, one kingdom may have many good men and many good women, but be of no good as a kingdom. Look at that. So being good, it ain't always, it's more to it than just being a good person. Like I always say, you could be a good, stupid person too. But be of no good as of a kingdom. I did not measure the individuals, but the entire household. I judged the virtue of a kingdom by its combined harvest delivered to my keeping. What did he say? See that everybody want individual power, but what judge I say? I do not measure the individual, but the entire household. So all these Israelite leaders that want to be superstars, that want to be Captain Americans, John not looking at you, he looking at the whole household. That's what the creator looking at. The whole household. Mm-hmm. Let's move on. When a kingdom is aggregating to itself more wisdom and virtue, the amount of its increase is my harvest. When the kingdom cannot retain its own members, it has fallen away from me. The uprightness of its few is nothing in my sight. See that? You know, you get a few cats doing right, you think you're doing something? Create like, nah, not so easy. Not so easy. Look at that. It says what? The uprightness of its few is as nothing in my sight. Yes. If the creator is the omnipresent and you only got a couple few thousand that's righteous, that's nothing in the creator's sight. Like, that's a joke. The secret of power of my kingdom lies in its capacity to aggregate in my name and obey my commandments. See? That's it right there. The secret. You want to know the secret of the power of a kingdom? Lies in its capacity to aggregate in my name, meaning come together. A divided house can't stand. Just imagine if all the Israelites came together under one body, how powerful that'd be. But they don't get it. They can't put their egos aside. For 100 days, Yama went through the lower heavens, displaying the miracles of the upper heavens. See that? Displaying the miracles of the upper heavens. And his hosts, many of whom traveled with him, enlisted pupils, particularly collecting the spirits of young children. Look at that. Look at that. And in 100 days, he had many millions of spirit abracadabras, mostly helpless wanderers. Abracadabras meaning those who are repeating one mono. Those are the holy, 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 holy all day niggas. Those are the abracadabras. It's a monotone, fragmented sentence that they say over and over again. It's like a chant. But look what it states here. They collected. Look at that. It said it particularly collecting the spirits of young children. I wonder how did these young children die? I wonder how did these young children die? Matter of fact, you know how we do. Let's see how these young children may have died according to the Bible. Let's go to 1 Samuel. I know niggas hate us for that 1 Samuel 3. How did these infants die? But slay both men, woman, infant, and suckling. They were slain. And once these angels were slain, particularly collecting spirits of young children. See, that's what the righteous gods do. Those who serve the Creator, this is the labor they do. They go around collecting the spirits of young children who were slain by the false gods, left on the battlefield to linger in misery. Hmm? And in 100 days had millions of spirits, abracadabras, mostly helpless wanderers. With these he returned to Aster. Now this place Aster is not this is not the goddess Aster. It's actually a heavenly place called Aster. With these returned to Aster and prepared to found his kingdom. Jehovah spoke to him, saying, "Do not fear, my son, because of the helplessness of your subjects. He who start a new kingdom is wise in choosing none who have hobbies of their own." See that? That's the key right there. If you're trying to start something with some people and you're trying to be the leader and get shit done, make sure to choose somebody what? In choosing none who have hobbies of their own. Meaning to say, like like me, for example, I do film. If I'm trying to build a couple camera guys, it's best for me to find a camera guy, maybe a young 18, 19-year-old, not in school, ain't got nothing going on, but he got plenty time on his hand. I'm gonna choose somebody like that in comparison to choose somebody who's always busy. They really can't do the job. He's a cameraman, but they really always tied up. Every time you call them, they busy. Anytime you call them to film, they gotta do it on this particular day. But you got the other person who always got that. Anytime you call them, they there. That's the type of people you want to build your team around because they're gonna be effective in establishing what you need done. So again, it states what? He who starts a new kingdom is wise in choosing none who have hobbies of their own. Whoever goes forth in my name, I will be with him. Yema, in inquiring of Jehovah as to who should be appointed assisting God. And the voice answered, Tula, Tula. So Yema appointed Tula, and he made Habal chief marshal of the capital. Again, the voice of Jehovah came to Yema, saying, You shall appoint 100 lords to Shem, or India, and they shall have dominion over mortals. Hear the voice of your Creator. Through my son Zarathustra, I will establish temples to my lords and gods, and you shall provide your heavenly kingdoms in such a way that your Lord shall inhabit the temples, communion with the rabbis, priests, who shall be called God Iris. But the communion between spirits and mortals shall be known only to the god Iris and to the sub-priests under the name. But mortals shall be left to believe that these things, that these furthers, that these fathers have attained to spirit communion by great purity and wisdom. See the wisdom? See that? That's going to create the perseverance in industry for mortals. So they're going to be thinking like, oh, they attain this shit by purity. What's going to create that inspiration for them to do it, not knowing that, it's not really like that, but we're molding you to believe that so you can become industrious and perseverance in this cycle. Verse 11. Nevertheless, when drudges manifest to mortals, it shall not be countenance in any other than as a mark of evil raised up against truth. Likewise, when drudges manifest to mortals, it shall not be countenanced in any way other than as a mark of evil raised up against truth. So when you see that drudge, it's a mark of evil raised up against truth. Interesting. See that? And when you have established your kingdom, you shall cut off the supplies of the drudges, so that they will become borrowers from your people. In this manner, they will in time consent to labor. They're trying to get these niggas from being lazy to get industrious. And these are the strategies they got to use to make mortals and angels become industrious. Yama then appointed 100 lords who became as the root of the tree of heaven. And thus Ashan lords were. And then they give you the names of the lords, which I ain't about to go through. Y'all know how these names could be kind of crazy. But these are laws. These are 100 laws that they're dividing over the land of Shem, assigned to different regions. It says the general lords were called Ashim, with voice, that is to say, Ashim Vuhu, and these were the lords in chief given for the kingdoms of the sun in the land of Shem. And it gives you some names of the lords. Look at this. See this? This is where it gets deep. Look what it say. And Yema made these 25 lords controllers of the voice with mortals to take Sematai, the god, place after the death and ascension of Zarathustra, for which reason they were called Hashem Vahu. And it gives you different positions, ranks of these lords. So it says the lords of farmers, see that? And herdmen. So there's lords stationed among these areas. It states the lords of seafaring men. See that? So these are lords that could disturb the sea. You out at sea on some goddamn Clash of the Titans shit, and here come these big ass waves and these monstrosities created out of water, and you like, how is this possible? And it's these damn lords over the ocean, over the sea. And you got females doing some work too. The lordesses. Look at that. The lordesses of births and mothers. You got women angels that are in control or an observation, an inspiration of during births and mothers. The lords of building. See that? Niggas want to build some shit, you got lords that's inspiring you to do that. The lords of timekeeping. So they dividing this whole system up over the land of Shem with these 100 lords. Jehovah spoke to Yema saying, in this day I will bless your labor because mortals have ceased to believe in immortality. They have shut off the intercourse with drudges, for which reason you shall establish pure communion with your pure lords and none other. So now they done cut off full communication with the spirit worlds from the drudges. The drudges is cut off from mortals. So mortals has no direct connection with angels right now. They all removed, and now Yema through Jehovah is setting up a whole new set of lords that's going to be dealing with pure spirit communion. So they're switching the narrative of spirit communion while at the same time learning to be industrious. Yema sent his lords to their separate places, and every lord took 1,000 attendant angels with them. Yema said to them, before they depart, see to it, O Lord, that in your respective places to stir the people up, and whatever you find, kings or queens or generals surrounded by spirits that urge them on in their affairs, cut off those spirits, leaving the mortals destitute of inspiration, and their kingdoms and armies will become disorganized and helpless. See that? See that? When Zarathustra was being pursued, that's how the kings couldn't find them. High level spiritual science going on here. High level spiritual organization. These angels are organized to a T. And whenever Samatai, God, and Zarathustra came to a city, you shall go also, laboring with them and with Zarathustra. And when Zarathustra holds up, now here's the catch right here. When Zarathustra was doing these miracles, it was the angels doing it. And when Zarathustra holds up his hands and says, O Father, light of your light, then gather of the substance around and shield him with a wall of fire. And if Zarathustra should say, O Father, O Maz, give your children food, then shall ye cast down from the air above fish and fruits. See that? These are the angels doing this based off when Zarathustra make the call of prayer. So these miracles is done by angels. These miracles are done by angels. And if it look, And if a captain, or if a king or a captain rises a hand against Zarathustra, you shall gather about him and shield him. And if a man draws a sword against Zarathustra, catch the blade and break it into pieces. See that? This is the protection of Zarathustra by the angels. But all this is going on outside of visible light. It's going on in the unseen realm. So just imagine you seen a man, somebody throwing a blade at you. Just imagine somebody throwing a blade at you or trying to slice you, cut you, and that shit just shatter into pieces. And you just looking like, well, how is that even possible? Not knowing that the angels shattered it, but it's moving. The angel is moving outside of visible light, so it'll be invisible to us when we see something like that happening. We're like, oh shit, that's a miracle. Not knowing it's the angels doing that for the prophet. Jehovah spoke to Yama saying, the time will come when the present mortal kingdoms will fall. Now, the time of Zarathustra is kind of like an offshoot of our time. It's like the offshoot of our time. Yeah, because every third arc cycle kind of repeats. So the time of Zarathustra is like our time repeating. Because if you notice, you see a lot of similarities. It says the time will come when the present mortal kingdoms will fall, but the followers of Zarathustra, who will succeed them under the Zarathustrian law, will be protected. Even as you, during dawn, protect Zarathustra. For which reason your Lord shall raise up other lords to take their places after the ascent of this dawn. After the ascent of this dawn. And it shall come to pass that all light and all truth and all success shall come to mortals through the priest, rabbi, who shall succeed Zarathustra. But as for the king of great cities who will not accept my light, they shall go down in darkness, and their kingdoms shall fall to pieces. So this is where we are right now. We live in a time of great kingdoms. These kingdoms been thriving, and these kingdoms are becoming more diverse from Creator. And the more diverse from a kingdom or a governance from Creator, the more quicker that kingdom will fall. And Yama established his lords, now turn his attention to the heavenly kingdom of Hades. Hades. But yeah, we just reading the wisdom of Jehovah here. Jehovah said to Yama, you shall separate the spirits partly, light from holy dark. Therefore build a throne and a plateau sufficient for 3 billion souls. And because there are more females than males, you shall call the place of your throne Astoreth. See that? This is the real Astoreth before the goddess Astoreth, as we know in the 23rd arc cycle, proclaimed. It was a heavenly kingdom called Astoreth. And the reason being is because of what? Because there were more females than males. You shall call the place of your throne Astoreth. And when you have provided a house for your council, you shall send forth selectors, who shall bring you as many as choose to come, and these shall be the foundation of your kingdom. So there you got it right there, Astoreth. And the purpose of this is what? The purpose of Astoreth is what? You shall separate the spirits, the partly light from the holy dark. That's the purpose of this place. You shall separate the spirits that are partly light from holy dark. And look, you shall call the place, because there are more females than males, you shall call the place Astoreth. So this place called Astoreth, the purpose of this place is to what? You shall separate the spirits, the partly light from the holy dark. So these people, these 3 billion souls is mainly women. Some is fully engulfed in Georgian darkness, and some is somewhat like half and half. Right? Yeah, where did Yama proceeded as commanded by the father, and presently he had congregated around about Astereth a sufficient number as to establish a place of amusement, place of worship, place of learning. Again the voice came to Yama, saying, because your kingdom is attractive, you are flooded with idlers, who are of no profit to any person in heaven or earth. To keep them away, you shall wall your kingdom around with pillars of fire. For thus I have created man, that he will return with zeal to those who turn him away. Because you shall make your labor seclusive, they will run for you. Mm. See the strategies being played out, laid out? All is for your resurrection. And when they come to you, you shall bargain with them for righteousness behavior before you feed them. And when you have thus gathered in all who come in this way, you will not yet have left. You will not yet have the half of them. But those who are left will be without judgment. So you shall take possession of them and bestow them in colonies, and you shall rank them. The lowest of all shall be the first rank. Those who come after the pillars of fire are built shall be the second rank, and those who come with the selector shall be called the third rank. So see how they selecting this shit out? No stones left unturned. Everybody getting peeled out. Everybody getting dug out of hell. And you shall divide your own hosts. Those who go with your labors down to the mortals as guardian spirits shall be called Eshars, and they shall bring the spirits of the newly dead and deliver them to your hosts in heaven, which shall be called Asaphs. See that? This whole shit is systematically set up. That right there, that verse is a precept to in the Book of Jehovah, where it explains the guardian angel. Mm-hmm. It explains it where it's at. Boom, boom, boom. Here it talks about the guardian angels. Find that precept right quick, right here. Therefore, those of you who are appointed by my God and my Lord as guardians over mortals shall be called Eshars. See that? And you shall report to your respective lords according to the section of the earth where ye may be. And the Eshars, guardian angels, have many watches. So right here, that's just a precept. All right. It says, therefore, those who are appointed by my gods and lords as guardians over mortals shall be called Eshars. Coming back here, when it states, and you shall divide your hosts, those who go with your lords down to mortals as guardian spirits shall be called Eshars. Again, Book of Jehovah, chapter 7, verse 30. Therefore, those of you who are appointed by my God and my lords as guardians over mortals shall be called Eshars. And in the Book of Fragapati, chapter 33, verse 6, and you shall divide your hosts, your own hosts, those who go with you, go with your lords down to mortals as guardian spirits shall be called Eshars. So that's the precept. And then the second part that coincide with the guardian angels. And they shall bring the spirits of the newly dead and deliver them to your hosts in heaven, which host shall be called Asaphs. So Asaphs received the spirits of the newly dead. Coming back over here, the second part of this verse. And you shall report to your respective lords. Right here, I mean. And those of you who are appointed to receive the spirits of the dead in the heaven shall be called Eshars. And they shall bring the spirits of the newly dead and deliver them to your hosts in heaven, which shall be called Ashars. So that's a precept upon precept with the Ashars and the guardian angels. The guardian angels, the Ashars, and the Asafs work hand in hand. They work hand in hand. And the Ashars shall drive all spirits away from mortals, except those who are appointed by you or your lords. For above all things you shall seek to become controller over mortals, so that they become faithless in me and my dominions. So that's the labor of the guardian angel. See, don't think you out here running around with no guardian angel assigned to your ass. You running around here thinking ain't nobody watching you in spirit. You got a guardian angel assigned to you. Every human being on the face of this planet got a guardian angel assigned to them. What did the book of Judges say? What it say right here? He says, therefore, those of you who are appointed by my gods and lords as guardians over mortals. See that? Guardians over mortals. That means every mortal got a guardian over them. So if there's 8 billion mortals on the planet, that's 8 billion guardian angels watching over you. And then when you die, there's 8 billion angels ready to collect the spirits of whoever's going to die, regardless of what the number is. Yema then divided the spirits of heaven according to the commandments of the Creator. After that, he took possession of the wandering spirits of darkness, whether they were on the earth or in heaven, and he had them taken into places prepared for them. And he provided them with physicians, nurses, teachers, and they were made to understand that they were dead as to earth bodies, and that they must give up the earth. Look at that. So this is what's going on. They collected the spirits of the dead, the wandering spirits. And notice it's stated, taken into places prepared for them. See that? When you cross over, it's places already prepared. Just like when your ass was born on earth, when you came out your mama's womb, your ass was in the hospital. Your ass was in the house. Your ass was somewhere that was prepared, meaning like a home, a hospital, a facility. So when you cross over in the spirit world, don't think you crossing over into vapors of dust and space particles. No, you're going to be, look, it's telling you they got physicians there. They got nurses in the spirit world, teachers. See that? Your ass is going to wake up from one reality to another. And look what it states here. Look what it states here. And they were made to understand they were dead as to their earth bodies. Huh? And that they must give up the earth. Meaning to say, nigga, snap out of it. You've been running around on the earth for 2, 3, 5 years, and nigga, you dead. You still running around thinking you in the flesh. You in spirit and don't even know you moving in spirit. See that? So it comes a point where they got to be forcefully reckoned with, forcefully dealt with to let them know, like, nigga, this is what's going on. It's time for you to progress. You moving along, whether you like it or not. After this, Yema established places of learning in heaven and places of labor, teaching the angels to clothe and feed themselves by their own industry. See that? These niggas wasn't even doing that. Again, the voice of Yahuwah came to Yema saying, behold, my son, the lower heaven has reached Sipi Oki. It is therefore the time in which angels of the first grade shall be taught to build heavenly mansions. Look at that. They want to talk about my father has many mansions. Look at that. These are low-grade angels being taught to build heavenly mansions. You don't even know the half when you want to talk about these mansions. Yema commanded the teachers and the superintendents of factories to prohibit the spirits from returning to mortals except by permission. Yema said, check this, it is wiser to inspire mortals to aspire to rise in heaven after death than to have mortals ever drawing the angels down to the earth. See that? And my laws on earth shall labor for this outcome also. So Yema taught new inspirations both in heaven and on earth, which were that the spirits of the dead should build homes in heaven for their kindred, and that mortals should be taught that there were mansions in heaven ready for their souls after death. See that? All this is to persuade mortals to spiritual progression after death, while at the same time being industrious while alive on earth, and not being idle and lazy, dependent on the spirits of the dead for you to do everything as far as knowledge and communication and things of that nature. But look at that. Look at this. It is wiser to inspire mortals to aspire to rise in heaven after death than to have mortals ever draw the angels down to the earth. Look at that wisdom right there alone in itself. Because you're always calling on God. You calling on God to bring, you're calling on, but you ain't thinking about ascending and going up. Instead of bringing them down, meet them up there. Aspire to rise. Everything is earthbound with people. Everything is earthbound. You deal with the flat earth, it's earthbound. You're in a dome. You're not going on high. You're earthbound. The New Jerusalem is earthbound. Everything is earthbound. Ain't nothing talking about you ascending and rising. They want to keep you locked in on the earth plane. Yema said, mortals becoming founded in this belief will not so readily become wandering spirits after death. See the strategy? See the purpose of telling mortals these things? So when they cross over, they don't become wandering. They're going to be looking and expecting. Yeah, I was taught that there was many mansions on this side. Where it's at? Now they have a sense of direction to go and progress. These are the strategies and the methods that these Ethereal gods got to use to raise up the spirits of the dead. While Yema was thus building in heaven his lords, with their attendant spirits were manifesting on earth, as had never been before since the foundation of this world. See that? So that 22nd arc cycle, it was a lot going on. It was spirit manifestations going on, unlike the foundation of the world. We got yet to experience some shit like that in this day and age. Look what it states. The temples of the stars were broken and thrown down by the spirits. Huh? The iron gates of the city were taken off and carried into the forest. Imagine seeing that. The palace of the kings and queens were unroofed, and the stones of the walls of the palace were hurled from their places. Even to the foundation, one stone was not left upon another. And these things were done by the spirits of heaven. See that? See that? These things were done by the angels. So whether if you call on the angels to do it, regardless, the angels are doing it. They're moving outside of visible. So just imagine you inside your house, and your whole roof gets taken off, but it don't get taken off like in a whirlwind. It gets taken off with precision. Or tear down your whole house, but it's not destroyed. It's precisionally taken down. You got a brick home, and the bricks, each brick is just falling off like dominoes. But it's not destructive in pattern the way it's done. The wisdom of these angels is on a whole nother level. Check this out. And men and women and children were carried in the air by the angels. See that? See that? It says, and men and women and children were carried in the air by the angels and unharmed. The household goods were carried out, and the food of the table stripped off, even as mortals sat down to feast, and they were made to see the food going away. With their own eyes, they saw these things. See that? This is the stuff that was going on then. It says it was so active, it was like none before since the foundation. So just imagine living in this time. You out there, you see a man, woman, and child just floating, being carried off in the air by the angels. You're going to look at that like, oh, this is miraculous. And mortals were made to see visions and to dream dreams of prophecy and to have unusual powers And in many places the spirits took on sargos and walked about among mortals, being seen and felt. We were just having a discussion earlier on the email page. Me and Cosmo Cal talking about the angels walking among mortals. And here is validating that they walked among mortals, being seen and felt. You could touch these motherfuckers. I'm like, oh shit, we don't touch the angel. And they talked audibly, explaining to mortals the dominion of Yema and his lords. Look at that. If this shit was to happen now, this would be considered extraterrestrials, aliens. We'll just keep it extraterrestrials because these are humanoid-looking people. These ain't, half animal-looking people. These are humanoids. In all things that Yema and his host did in heaven, his lords worked in harmony with him in their labor on earth. Nevertheless, there were also vagrant spirits on earth who did not belong to the kingdom of heaven, but who had manifest on their own account. See that? And they were given to lying, to flattery, and to evil generally. Little by little, Yema cut off these evil spirits and took them away to his colonies and disciplined them. Discipline these niggas. Like, oh, this what y'all doing? Y'all out here caught. I'm over here trying to establish purity, and y'all over here in the corner doing this. Take y'all over here and discipline y'all. Such then were Yema's labor when Fragapati came to see him to honor this occasion. Yema had proclaimed recreation in Astereth and invited his lords and captains and others to be present and take part in a season of enjoyment. See that? See the wisdom of the Creator in the Owaspi? See how the Creator is using the wisdom to lift up the people? That whole time the Creator throwing niggas in the pit of fire? Showing you spiritual ascension. You dig? Showing you spiritual ascension. You dig? Give me a one in the chat if you get this understanding. It's the vibes. You know how we do. Yes, family. Boy, they over here still letting off like it's New Year's. They letting off out here like it's New Year's. I see the family chiming in. I see you, King. Yahuda, I see you. Eric Hamilton, I see you in the building. Charlie the Most High, Kenneth, I see you. Deshaun, what it do, Sistrin? You don't know on. I listen to late night vibes. Nat Deezy in the building. Peace to the God. See the fam chiming in. Dreadful Cosman, where's the big man? Let them say how. But we just show the wisdom of the Creator right there. You know what I'm saying? Show how the Creator is all about lifting and ascension, rising up the spirits of the dead. Notice the Creator didn't send nobody in the hellfire. Notice the Creator didn't send nobody in the hellfire, yo. You dig? I just vibe out. We just vibe out. Everything is about spiritual ascension. We just read. Everything from the Creator, the voice of Yahuwah that came was about rising up the drudges, figuring out strategies and methods to rise these drudges, these wandering spirits, these spirits of darkness. The heavenly kingdom of Aster was named because it was more women than male spirits. And there was a place where they had to separate the half light to the full dark spirits, the drudges. You know what I mean? The Owaspy is about showing you how to raise up drudges from darkness and rise up in the grades. That's what this shit about. You notice it talked about how the angels was collecting the spirits of children, young ones. See that? So while your false god is out there slaying the children, the righteous angels are collecting the souls of those slain children in spirit, taking them to colonies to get what? Educated, to be taught, and to send them to the schools and to rise into the grades so they can graduate to Etheria. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. The graduation to Etheria. The Bible doesn't mention nothing about Etheria. You know what I mean? Not a word. The Bible is not a book of heaven. It's a book of earth. Everything you read in the Bible is really earth-based. It doesn't really talk about the angels in heaven like that when you read the Bible. You dig? So with that alone, we gotta let the people know it's graduation out here. That's what we're here for, spiritual ascension. If you're not talking about that ether, where you going? Where you going if you can't deal with that ether? Jehovah's voice continued saying, this book of Fragapati, chapter 34, verse 7. Jehovah's voice continued saying, whoever looks upon my works and say, behold, I cannot cope with these elements, is short in faith and wisdom. For I have not created in vain. That mortals or spirits cannot control my elements in their respective places, they shall improve the talents I have given them. I made the earth wide and filled it with many things, but I gave man a foundation so that he could attain to the mastery of land and water and minerals and of all the living. Yes, I gave him a corporeal body to practice with and as an abiding place for the assistance of his own soul. Look at the wisdom of the Creator here. And I created atmosphere wider than the earth and filled it with all manner of spiritual things and with the substance of plateaus, but I also gave to the spirits of the dead talents by which they can attain to the mastery of all things in atmosphere. See that? So the same way we can learn mastery on a corporeal level is the same way the angels is trying to learn mastery on a spiritual level with the spiritual things. What are the spiritual things? The spiritual things are the spiritual substance that makes up the plateau, the mineral domain, just like on the earth. Whoever has attained to these things is like a traveling sun. My light is upon him. He prepares the place, and my voice comes out of the light of it. Let my sons and daughters stir themselves up, where they are gathered together in my name. I am there also. My hand is upon them. Create a gang. My power becomes one with them, and my voice is possible in their midst. The voice ceased. See the wisdom of Creator? There were many present who had not previously heard the voice of all light and became of brilliance. They were blinded for a while, but presently restored. Fragapati then said, Hoab and Hapachi, come and sit on the throne. And they went and sat on the throne. And in the same time, the Esanuas chanted, Hail to great Yahuwah, voice his sons and daughters of thousands of years have returned once more to their native red star to proclaim his boundless glory. See that? Frag Patty said, in the Father's name I have proclaimed a day of recreation to resume labor at the sound of the trumpet in the east. And now the hosts mingle together freely, Bayun with cheerfulness, and during the recreation, millions of Etherians went out into the plateau, visiting the places of learning, the factories and hospitals, and such places as belong to the lower heavens. See that? On the next day, at the call of the trumpet, the people resumed their places, and after the music, Frankenpatty said to you, Athula, I will speak in the name of Jehovah. You are chosen by the Father to be assistant to Yema, Jehovah's son, during this dawn, which is near its end. And after that, you shall be Lord and God of these heavens and of the earth beneath for 200 years. See that? This is Yema saying, like, at the end of this dawn of then, you're going to be God. You're going to be the first atmospheric God to rule for the first 200 years. That's equivalent of like saying when Cosmon came in the year 1848, when that light of dawn of then kicked in, that's like the Etherian telling Thaluma, like, yo, in 2048, you gonna be the reigning God. You gonna reign for the 200 years. I mean, from 2048 to 1848 to 2048, you're gonna be reigning for that 200 years. That's like an assignment given to this God by the Etherian. You're gonna be in office for 200 years. And see, that's another thing biblical readers don't get, the succession of the gods. There's so much they got to catch up on as far as the proceeding of the heavenly kingdom. Because you are wise and good, the Father has risen you up, and great is your glory. So you may have strength and power, you shall also be called Yema during your reign. For the time has now come to the earth when mortals must learn to know the lords and gods who rule over them. See that? In this time period, during the 22nd arc cycle after the creation of man, during the coming 200 years, the earth will be traveling in my Orion fields, Gomachala, and you shall be one with me in your dominions. Whatever you shall require from my hand, I will send to you. You shall therefore keep your place in order, and if you need Aja, I will send it. If you need Dan, I will send it. Look at the power of these angels. He said, if you need Aja, I will send it. You know what Aja is? Aja is condensed falling meteorites. So if God say, y'all, man, I may need Aja. All right, let me go ahead and set it up. Here come falling meteorites. Or I need light. I need a dawn of Dan. I need a sub Dan. All right, boom. Got you. Most importantly, but less concerned about the spirits in your heavens than about mortals on earth. Mortals must have sufficient Aja so that the race do not become extinct. They must have sufficient Dan so that they do not become like beasts. For which reason, every 11th year, you shall number abracadabra and supply my swift messengers with these lists, and I will bring the elements of Gomachala to bear upon your labor profitably to the Father. See, these boys talking some high science here. Huh? Talking about them 11 years. Every 11 years, you shall number abracadabra. Like, look at that. That's deep. Secondly, be careful of too much leniency towards the spirits of the first resurrection. Do not allow them to abide with mortals as teachers. Remember that mortals love their dead kindred to the extent that they would deprive them of heavenly education. See that? For the sake of having them around. Remember also that the spirits of the recently dead who are entered as Essenes in all good heavens love their mortal kindred to the extent that they would seek to no higher heaven than to linger around them on earth, which habit grows upon them, so that in 2 or 3 generations they become drudges, worthless to themselves, knowing little of earth and less of heaven. Look how deep that is. Look what that verse is saying. That's heavy. Be firm, therefore, in holding dominion over the Essenes, the newborn spirits, permitting them only to return to mortals under guard, and especially preventing them from touching mortals anything other than the Ormazdian religion, or teaching them, preventing them from teaching mortals anything other than the Ormazdian religion. After this, you shall be circumspect in Astereth, remembering that it is the role of a god to provide his kingdom for the development of all the talents Jehovah has created withal. For you shall so intersperse labor and recreation and rest and learning, so that each and every one is of equal attraction. See that? These heavenly kingdoms, boys, made up of those, everybody on the same page. Everybody moving at the same grade. Once they accomplishment, when they become masters, everybody on the same page. And whether your commandments are for angels or mortals, you shall first of all and last of all inspire them to faith in the Creator and to follow the little star of light He has given to every soul. The Frank Petty sees. See that? That light, that little star, that's within everybody. That voice, that's your connection to Creator. That's your connection to Creator. Right there. The little star of light He has given to every soul. That's your line of light to Creator. That's your cord, your direct line. No middleman is needed. You have a direct line to Creator. Jehovah said, I have drawn my crescent and my altar. Whoever would hear my voice and heed my commandments, let them hearken to the forms and ceremonies that shape the soul of things. I am order. I am stateliness without severity. I am love without passion. I am wisdom by suggestion and without dictation. I am the most silent but most powerful. I am the least seen but always present when asked for. See the wisdom of the Creator? And now, since the people knew Frankenpatty was about to depart, the proper officers arranged matters so that all could pass in front of the throne to receive his blessings. Accordingly, the Essenors commenced singing and the processions began. The master of the lights of the council lowered them, and Fragapatty lowered his own lights and came and down and stood at the foot of the throne covered with the light drapery, which fell down to his feet. And he was looking clean. His hands he held upwards, waving gently, and he created drapery and perfume and wreaths of flowers, bestowed something upon every soul that passed, of whom there were more than 1 billion. Look at them numbers. Look at them numbers. And when the procession had all passed, Fragapatty sat down at the foot of the throne. Then came Yema, came down and took his hand, saying, Son of Jehovah, arise and go your way, and the Father be with you. So Fragapatty rose up and departed, and Hoab, Hapachi, and Yema and Thula with him. And Yema left High Eretra, goddess of Milo, on the throne of Aster. God is running the throne. It's like, all right, sit on this throne in your departure. This is the Book of Fragapati. Heavy. So they entered the Avalanza, which is the spaceship, and with music rejoicing, departed on their journey. And Yema conducted them throughout his dominions, both in heaven and on earth. For many days Fragapati thus dwelt with Yema and Thula, and after he had inspected their labors, and his recorders completed their record, which was to be taken afterward to Etheria and what deposited in the libraries of Fragapati's dominions. Yema took leave, and his pedomizer was discharged, and he departed for Astereth, where he arrived in due season, but Fragapati proceeded to the dominion of Ahoan, Lord God of Japheth, and her heavens. So this is interesting, reading the wisdom of the Creator during the time of Fragapati, the strategies and the stratagems that they was using to raise man up. You dig? It's a Rasclot vibes. We just vibing out, family. You know how we do. It's a vibes. You know how we do, family. We just vibing out. Yes, ref a vibe out, because it's a vibes. Yes, family, we just vibing out. You know how we do. You know how we dizzle. Looking that up too. It's the vibes. Yes, family, you know we just vibing out right now. Just vibing out. You know how we do. Have you heard of that? Yeah, looked it up. Got a link for it, you can drop it in the chat. If anybody want to check it out, Book of Encounters. Book of Encounters. It's a vibes. Just family. We just vibing out. You know what I mean? Vibing out on this New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Yeah, my wife corrected me. We left the store. I'm looking for a link. Got a link. Got to drop the link. Prince, I see you. What's good, fam? Just vibing out. No particular topic. Just read a couple of verses, just displaying the wisdom of the Creator, showing how the Creator displays His wisdom, dealing with His sons and daughters, raising them out of darkness, raising them out of the hands of other angels who took advantage of their brothers and sisters. You dig? Yes, family. It's the blood clot vibes. Yes, we just vibing out, yo. So what I was just reading was during the 22nd arc cycle. That was dope. Everything I just read was during the time of Fraggle Patty. The book of Fraggle Patty is the 22nd arc cycle. That's the dope thing. It's like we're just not reading. We're just not reading, and there's no time period where we're reading. Everything got a time period to it. Everything got a time period to it. What we were just reading from the book of Fraggle Patty was the time of Zarathustra, 7th millennium BC. So everything we were just reading for the deliverance of the spirits of the drudges, the strategies that was laid out, what we read to lift up the spirits for ascension, that took place 7,553 BC. This is before Egypt. See that? This is 3,000 years before Kemet and them boys. This is the 22nd arc cycle. See where the Earth is? This is the time period, and up here is the arc cycle. See that? The 22nd arc cycle. The 23rd, between the 23rd arc cycle and between the 23rd to the 24th, this is the time of Egypt right up in here. This is the time of Sumer, ancient Egypt. This is the time of the Exodus. And this time from here to here is the last 3,400 years. This is from 15th century BC to 1848. So the time of Yahshua, all this is up in here. Islam, Christianity, all that is during this time period. As we scoot down, you see the time 1553 BC to 1848 AD. Yahshua, all that right up in here. But what we just read was the 22nd arc cycle. See that? This is the 22nd arc cycle. We're talking about them arc cycle scrolls. So this is this what's going on here. 753 BC to 3953 BC, or 4th millennium BC. This was going on. So when we talk about history, if you was to pull out the 22nd arc cycle, ain't too much going on historically. We got the Fayum A culture, and then we got the Badarian culture. That's what's going on. And when you look up what's going on, there is no buildings and monuments. There's no great writings during this time period. What you see is bowls and ceramics and things of that nature. But you don't see no great civilization writings and documents, scrolls. You don't see none of that during this time period. Everything coming back from the 21st going back is like back in the Stone Ages. You don't see a highlight of history nowhere else outside of going back further from the 21st. Now, in this time period, you may have had what's that? Harappa over there in India. You got the Arata civilization. There's a lot going on in other places outside of Egypt and Sumer, because we think Egypt and Sumer kind of kicks it off. But then you have other areas like Gopeke, Tepe. That shit go back 12,000 years ago. That's before Egypt. That was damn near close to falling this time period. Even before this. So it's the 22nd. Book of Fragment Patty, chapter 2, verse 6. It has been 3,100 years since great Osiris sowed the seed of mental culture among mortals, which has grown to be a giant and a most merciless tyrant. To learn about that which I spoke, even God and his lords, to honor you, O Fragment Patty, give me voice and word, and open the libraries of their heavens, and accompany me all around the earth to all nations, tribes, and wanderers. To me, the God of earth. See the wisdom? Here's a link. I want to show you a link right here. I still got the link. Look at this right here, yo. Think I'll be playing. Look at this. Look at this time period. What that say? 4,000 BC. Look at this. Watch this. Watch this, family. Look what this say. The oldest gold treasure and jewelry in the world dates from 46 BC to 42 BC. Was discovered at the site. They said the oldest. You thought it was Kemet, right? Look what it states. The oldest gold treasure in jewelry in the world. In the world, dating from 46 BC to 42 BC. Now, when we come back and click over here and we look up the time period of the 22nd arc cycle, that's right here on the cusp. Right here. See that? This time, this date, 46 to 42, fits right up in here. This would be the Badarian culture. But this is in Persia, Mesopotamia though. But this over here, this ain't in Mesopotamia. And this is what they're talking about, fam. This shit right here. Look at this. Reconstruction of elite male burial with some of the world's oldest gold jewelry, 4,500 BC. This before Kemet. See that? This a nigga a king. Buried 4,500 years ago. This is before all the pharaohs of Egypt put together. That was before. Look at that. Varna Necropolis grave offering an exhibit at the Varna Museum. Look at that. This shit go back 4,500 years, 45 BC. Look at this. Clay anthropomorphic head, late Chalcolithic period, 45 to 4,000 BC. See that? And this is the 22nd arc cycle. All this shit go back that far back, family. Yeah, son. So that's taking place. This is all before Egypt. This is all before Narmer, the old Dynamic. That's before all that. That's before all that, son. You know what I mean? There you go right there. Look at that. Look at that right there. Boom. 4,600 years, or 4,600 BC, I should say. Showing you where the gold was at. You can see he was decked out in gold. More likely a person of royalty. Look how they got the gold on the arms. So yeah, he had this gold on the arms right here. Look at that. What it say? The date. Look at the dates. See that? Look at the dates. Long before Egypt. Long before Egypt. Long before Egypt, you got this shit going on. Look at that. Female figurine, the sitting woman. What did we just read about Aster? Didn't we just read in the cycle of Fragapati where we just read that they build up a heavenly kingdom for the females called Aster? And we see the presence of these Venus figurines during this time too. Female figurine. See, pottery. See, these are the things you find during these times. You don't find no great monuments in cities. Look at that. Look at the settlement. Man, that look nice too. This is where they finding these things. All this going back to the time period that's pre-Egypt, before Kemet. See that? Look at that. The Dorankulak Lake Settlement, now archaeological complex, Kulak, commenced on a small island approximately 7,000 BC, around 47 to 4600 BC. See that? And there you go right there. This shit go back that time period. This shit older than Kemet right here. Kemet, Egypt. I love Kemet and Egypt. But the shit that's running around this planet, that's older than that. There's other shit that was going on in these areas. And you think they were just settling stuck here? You think they wasn't moving around? Come on now. They probably had dominion over ancient Kemet and other places prior to their rulership. They did. The religion of that day. Look what it say. Look what it say. The Varna culture had sophisticated religious beliefs about afterlife. See that? And developed hierarchical status differences. It has the oldest known burial evidence of an elite male. Look at that. The oldest known evidence. And they say, this ain't no Egyptian. Some authors have described the Varna elite male as kings. The end of the 5th millennium BC is the time that Marja Gambutus, founder of Kurgan hypothesis, claims the transition to male dominance began in Europe. The high status male was buried with remarkable amount of gold, held a war axe or mace, and wore a gold penis shaft. The bull-shaped gold palette perhaps also venerated virility, instinctive force, and warfare. See that? They telling you this shit is old. Look at that. Look at all this shit. So they had a belief in the afterlife. Ain't what we just, this is all during the time of what we just read, and how the time of Fragapati is finding a means between the Apollyon cycle when they was believing in spirits only, and the Osirian cycle when they completely disconnected from spirits. Now they find a means between the two during the time of Fragapati, which is 22nd arc cycle, which we was reading. Matter of fact, I got a presentation I'm just putting together about the 22nd arc cycle, and this is just some of the references I was reading from, I'm using. So look at that. This is some of the artifacts going back pre-Egypt. They're smeltering gold. They're making gold monuments. And this is in Europe. This is in Europe. Where it's stated? It says, look, this shit began. It says it began in Europe. Niggas ain't trying to hear that shit. When you think of Europe, you think of the white folks, but no, that's just the landmass. We ain't gonna get caught up in the skin color thing, but we just showing you what the evidence is saying for this time period. Look at that, all this evidence. Manaf pull off. Look at that. Bob, look at that. Look at that. All this evidence that goes back. These relics and replicas. You dig? Yeah, yo. So, you know, they got a history of things that goes long before what we are called Kemet or Sumer. You know what I mean? Niggas up in there in Europe got a kingship going on in 4600 BC, 4th millennium, 5th millennium BC. They got a kingship going on up there, different parts of the land. Egypt is a baby. That's right, Cosmo. It's the vibes. Yeah, man, Egypt is just a baby in comparison to what's out there, yo. And that's not even including the petroglyphs that even go further back. That's the dope thing. We coming down the line of history, showing you the evidence of these things. So look at the Varana culture. Look at this, see? And that's what we do. We find the histories placed within the arc cycles of the time period. Look at this shit. This is the Varana culture. Look what it say. Old Europe. Dating what? 4550 BC, circa 41 BC. So this is before Narmer. Keep in mind, Narmer is 3100 BC. This is over 1,000 years before ancient Egypt. 1,000 years now. This will be the Nakata period in ancient Egypt. So during the Nakata period in ancient Egypt, this was already going on up there in old Europe. And they got previous cultures even before that. But we're going to stick here. Look at that. Old Europe is a term coined by the Lithuanians, archaeologist Marja Gimbutas to describe what she perceived as a relatively homogeneous pre-Indo-European Neolithical and Copper Age cultural horizon or civilization in southeastern Europe and part of Central Eastern Europe. So if you look here, so look where they flourish at. Look at the time period. It says right there. So that's what's going on up there. Look at that. Well, let's click that. What we got here? What's that? Solnitistata. The Salt Workers was a prehistoric town located in present-day Bulgaria, near the modern-day city of Providia. So it's an ancient relic of the place. Look at that. That's where it's located right there. That's interesting. Yeah, man. The way you could trace history with this thing now is like crazy. That's why I like how the Owaspy give us these arc cycles so we could trace histories and time cycles. Cycles of 3,000 years. Now look, you got this one even going somewhat further back. 5250 BC to 4500 BC, Old Europe again. The Hamangia culture. Shit, wow. Look at that. Male figurine, the thinker. These are the figurines from that time period, even further back. See that? So when you think you touched the surface of history, you're not touched nothing, my brother. There's plenty more to learn, yeah? Because it's a blood clot vibes. You dig? That's, yeah. You already know where we're going with that. You already know with that. You already know. He sent them goddamn, I'm saying damn Phoenicians up, saying them Asiatics up in the joint. It's a New Year's vibes. Yes, family. The Harappian civilization, yeah, yo. We ain't even touched the surface. We ain't even touched the surface yet. It's a blood clot vibes. You know how we do. It's a blood clot vibes. Yes, family, peace, love, and light. You done know. Salute from Australia. Large up yourself, yeah? It's the vibes. Yeah, we still here. We still vibing out for a hot second before I close it out in a minute. Just going through some of these interesting. Yes, family, you know how we do.
Headed boy to pine oil heaven.
Chestnuts
at least one pine oil heaven
on an open
for the night
fire.
out.
That's where you
At
headed,
least
boy.
once.
To pine oil heaven.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
That's where you headed, boy. To pine oil heaven.
Chestnuts roasting
Gotta give it to 'em
on
at
an
least
open
once a night.
fire.
That's where you headed, boy. To pine oil heaven.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
That's where you headed, boy. To pine oil heaven.
And exactly where these cats is headed if they don't get it right following these false gods. And with that, family, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. You know what I mean? Had a long day. Tapped in with the sisters earlier. Chopped it up. Great bill. You know what I mean? So we're going to go ahead and close it out with You Know What? It's a Vibes. We're going to close it out with It's a Vibes. I'm gonna come back and get this presentation together. I'm gonna come back and touch on that 20-second off stack and show what's going on there. And we gonna ride out, family. Sila Shalom. Salute. You know how we do. It's the vibes.